What I want to show you today is my Space Hulk gaming trunk. I had made this around 1996 or later after the second edition of Space Hulk came out. This is made out of 1/4 inch plywood and it's covered with a leather textured vinyl that I picked up at an upholstery shop. This trunk measures 12 inches deep by 16 inches wide by about 20 inches tall. I keep all of my Space Hulk gaming components in it, and I want to kind of show you what's inside here and how I've organized everything inside here. So let's take a look inside the trunk here. One thing I want to draw your attention to is the top. You see there's actually about 3 inches of lid that's not really used for anything. So what I did is I put a flap here and a couple of snaps. And up here, I kind of store a tablecloth that we can use to put out on the table. So it's kind of out of the way, and it just kind of closes and snaps like this. And then the first tray we have all of the miniatures in. Now the very first tray that I show here has all the miniatures on it. One side are the Space Marines and the other side are the Gene Stealers. There's actually little handles on the side so you can kind of pull this up out of here. And what I've done is I've made this out of a mat board, and there's actually, these can kind of slide out. So you can lean this thing and the models won't really fall out because they're kind of held underneath by these little edges of mat board that kind of hold the miniatures in. I'm not really sure that this was the best idea because sliding them in and out, it tends to wear the paint off of the front of the miniatures off of their feet. But anyway, that's where you can hold at least one full game's worth of miniatures. I don't know if you'd be able to hold 2 full games worth or not. Later on in the video, I will kind of show you a closer close-up of the models and what I have here. Now the second tray is made out of black mat board, and it has all of the components and tokens for the game, and they're all in various bins. And I've labeled each of these bins. I cut them out of vinyl and stuck them on the front of each of these. So this has the basic stuff like the blips, the dice, the flamer counters, Overwatch counters, and everything else. And there's even the bits from the expansions, like this is from the Gene Stealer expansion with the Psyker rules on it. This pretty much has all the components. The bottoms of these are rounded as well, so they kind of slope up. So if you've got tiny markers that are hard to get out, they're easy to get out. You can kind of scoop them out without them getting stuck in the bottom. So that's what the component tray looks like. Now the third tray has all of the board game pieces in it. This is also made of mat board, black mat board, and this is all second edition game pieces. I bought at least 3 games worth of the second edition, and then I've got them all sorted out into the different sections. As far as rooms, there's a lot of rooms, and there's even a couple of specialty rooms that I've made by piecing them together and making a photocopy of them and putting them onto cardstock as well. So I've got enough that I could do several games at one time or make one really large Space Hulk game. Now you may not be able to see it, but there's actually a wooden bar here and there was a wooden bar on the other side to kind of hold the bottom tray from going all the way down. And this I keep all of the extra stuff that I don't really have room for anywhere else. Some extra blip cups here. I keep all the rule books in here. We've got the rules and missions for the very first Space Hulk. We've got the Deathwing rules and missions, Gene Stealer rules and missions. Then when the second edition came out, we've got the rule book and mission for it. I bought a special campaign book. And then the third edition, we have the rules and mission book for that as well. Another thing I've got down here is a pad of graph paper, and I have got all of the different missions that I had come up with over the years. I had tested them out, I would draw them out, I would try them at different times, and there are just years and years of ideas on here. Here I thought I'd show off a few of the miniatures that I have, and I have painted all of these myself. This right here, these are Space Wolves, and this one is a Captain. And this right here is a pewter miniature. I had purchased some pewter miniatures after I had bought the game, because at the time pewter miniatures had a lot more detail to them than the plastic miniatures. Not so anymore. This right here is the Flamer, and that's the Space Wolves Flamer right there. We also have an autocannon fella. And let's see what he looks like here. Get my fingers out of the way. That's the front of him. And I believe you can still buy the pewter miniatures, but the plastic ones are probably just about as good quality-wise. And I also have a lightning claw of the Space Wolves. And the reason I've got the different kinds is that in case you've got a mission that's particularly difficult, you can always put a more powerful Marine in there and help kind of even the odds a little bit. Here are a few other miniatures that I painted up in kind of the Deathwing scheme here. This one right here is a sergeant or a captain, not sure which, but he's got a power sword, which is a lot more helpful for a hand-to-hand combat. We've got right here a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield. That's got the Deathwing symbol on emblem on the shoulder there, and that's what the shield looks like. It's real handy for close combat. This one right here is a captain, and believe the captain, he's just got a storm bolter, but they also have grenades and other things that they can use. We don't really use a lot of the, when we game, a lot of the extras. We kind of go with pretty much the basics of the flamer, bolters, power sword, and that's about it. Here's another lightning claw. He's great for close combat. He's like a tank. He's really hard to kill, but once he's dead, it's just kind of unexpected, and then you have to deal with nobody being able to hold off a whole corridor anymore. Now here I got two squads of Marine. These are from the very first edition of the game. What I did is I just chopped the antenna that usually stuck up off the top of it, and I painted them, and these were some of the first miniatures I had ever painted, probably over 25 years ago, and you can tell that these are not as pretty, but these are actually plastic miniatures that came with the first edition game, and they actually had the flamer was actually a separate bit. You know, you can actually take this thing off and stick it back on the miniature. So if you need a flamer or if you don't need a flamer, you can take it off and you've got a regular bolter. Now here's another squad of Marines. These I had painted up. These are actually from the second edition of the game. And when the second edition of the game came out, I was really surprised at how nice they were actually able to get plastic miniatures to look. These were the first time that I really saw plastic miniatures that held up about the same amount of detail as the pewter miniatures. So that's kind of what it looks like on the paint job. I kind of did kind of a lightning effect on this all around. And I got a little bit better painting when I actually did some of these and then some of the pewter miniatures. I also painted up a few Chaos Marines. There's actually a full set of 5 of these. These are pewter miniatures as well. Lots of detail on them. Painting took forever. I don't remember when I painted this one, but I thought these were just great. I just loved the detail that they had on these guys. Like I said, the original squad actually had 5 Marines in it. And some of them, I think, had spikes coming out of them with heads like on spears on the top. And some of them had like elephant trunks and other things like that. I never got around to painting the other guys. It's just, you know, life happens and things get in the way and you never, you know, really get time. What I like to do is I like to spring these out on the players. I'll pop one of these out as a surprise sometimes during a game, and while the Marines are just about close to victory, then a Chaos Marine pops out and just throws a wrench in the whole thing. And of course we have the Gene Stealer models, the basic ones. These are from the first edition, or they might have been from the second edition, I'm not sure which. I believe both models were the same in the first and second edition. But here I've got 20 of them painted up. I think there's probably 24 in the original game. These are a few figures from the Gene Stealer expansion of the game. This one I think is called a Magus, or maybe it's pronounced Magus. This is part of the game, the expansion that had the psychic power, so you actually had these cards that would like cast spells. This was a Patriarch, which is basically one of the leaders, big tough fella. They also had one of these, I believe, that was sitting like in a chair, but I painted the one that was upright. And then of course you have the Gene Stealer hybrids, which are pretty weak, can only move 4 spots, but they have these big weapons. And I think they got like a -2 in hand-to-hand combat. So it changes the game a lot with the Psychers, the psychic ability, these guys that can shoot you. We never really played this version of the game too awful much, but it's one of those that we did have some fun with it, but this is what the Gene Stealer hybrids, I painted them up to kind of look like. Well, that concludes the video for the Space Hulk gaming truck. I hope you've enjoyed it and we're able to maybe give you some ideas on how you might want to store your game and your miniatures. This is something I've used probably for the past 25 years, and we still get it out and play the game today.